And welcome once again back to Inside Movies Galore. I know you're almost sick of us by now, but we are back here to talk about a film that has something to do with the film that we just talked about, which was House Shark. Which there were in fact, three characters that were in House Shark that were actually in this film, which is directed by Jonathan Straighton, who works with Sub Rosa Cinemas, but he's actually got his own company, which I believe is called Hurricane something. Um, and just so you know, I think you can still actually buy copies of Night of Something Strange from the actual site off of the Facebook page. So if you're looking for a copy, go there, not to Amazon, not to video, not to Family Video, which you can actually buy a copy of it under a different cover. But because Family Video from time to time actually sells, independent films from time to time, which is kind of cool for Family Video renters. So, in any case, Septum, why don't you tell me a little bit about this film?
Oh, it's different from the normal zombie movie. And that's really, I think, the best way to describe it is something completely different. As treating the zombie virus as something more like not more like, treating it as an STD as opposed to a, typical zombie virus, which is a unique way to go about it. And again, I'm thinking about Dick Shark. Which I have yet to even put up here, but I do have the DVD. I just I don't know whether that.
So do I. Once I watch it, maybe you and I can go on and talk about it.
That would be an interesting.
Yes, it would be. But the way I describe this is the main actor, which his name is Wayne W. Johnson. He plays this janitor who is evidently cleaning the building, and in fact, not just cleaning any building, he is cleaning nearby so-called coroner's office, and there just so happens to be a Jane Doe laying on a table, which he, for no uncertain purposes, fucks and gets this disease, and goes home to his trailer park wife, and then somehow she rips or he rips some disgusting piece off of her, and then they both go on a zombie rampage across town. Meanwhile, there is a group of kids planning a vacation to a nearby lake for summer vacation, and they run into this, the main zombie character at this first at a gas station, which there is some dialogue, as we can see, that I think was put in there. It's some random dialogue by the lady who mans the gas station. What do you think of that lady who mans the gas station?
Well, actually, I thought she looked more like a zombie than some of the zombies at at one of the points. But at the same time, of course, I could tell that was sort of a younger person, given makeup to look a little bit older.
Yeah, in fact, she was a beautiful blonde underneath all that, believe it or not.
But it was I love the little pot that she had, like ashes of what was it? Ashes of not mouthy teenagers, but was it unruly teenagers, something like that. I thought it was hilarious. Because we've all seen people and that are like that, and always smoking at the time.
Yeah, but in any case, there were definitely some interesting characters in this film. Like who can't forget Dirk and his over the top acting in here. I mean, you can when he looks at the camera and does some stances, you know. Like this was in like a Private Eye type movie or something like that. But yeah, there was some comedy, and there was some Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of thing going on there too.
Yeah. Especially at the end, they had a great twist. I'm not going to ruin that, but they did have a cool twist at the end, which I thought was interesting. Actually, I was thinking about what weird twists was the movie series that I thought was a great companion piece to this, which is the series Feast. So this is a high budget companion piece to this, which also dealt with some of those questionable natures. But if anybody is not aware, Feast had a trilogy.
Yep.
And the ending of that kind of took a different turn, though it did allude to it. Feast did not. Feast just took a different turn at the very end. And for those of you who haven't watched this trilogy, of course, that is a great one. And for those of you who like this movie, I think that the other movie would definitely be up your alley. Very much on the gore, though. Gosh, it did make me queasy.
Piece. And though there were some good, decent special effects, which was not CGI'd in any way, shape, or form in this film. Now, just so you know, folks, there was actually a campaign by this director that was done recently. I think he's still putting it together. It's actually called Johnny Z, which is another zombie film with martial arts and whatnot. So definitely catch that maybe later on. So, what did you think about the hotel scene?
You mean at the end or at the beginning?
Where the cop actually came and got involved, and the two were stuck together.
Well, I actually enjoyed that because I've got a history of really disliking bullies, and of course, the character that got a lot of that happening to him was the big bully character, which to me that brought me to laughter throughout that entirety, because to me I was figuring he's getting what he deserves out of this. And then how he ends is just
sometimes if you've ever been bullied before, and I was bullied myself when I was a kid, so I understand bullyism to a certain extent, and yeah, I would definitely say that in that instance, the bully got his comeuppance as well. So ultimately, was it a thoroughly enjoyable film, or did you find here again, was there some dialogue that could have been without?
I actually thought they did a much better job with it pacing than House Shark. It wasn't as funny as House Shark, and I will admit I was skeptical, because just the sheer amount of characters they introduced, I thought to myself, they're never going to get to all these people. I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with them. but they managed to do a pretty good job of throwing it all together. Starting it off, it started off as a slow burn, but it picked up the pace really quickly, and I think held the pace up till the end. I only could think of a couple of low moments, and they were very brief throughout. I was much more impressed by the pacing here. I thought that they did a much better job. I didn't think that it needed any major cuts like the last film.
I didn't think so either. And to be honest, this was one of my favorite indie films of last year. So me introducing this film and the other film to you. Well, first of all, House Shark is relatively recent, and I don't think there are too many film discussions out there of it as of yet entirely like this. So I thought that going backwards and seeing one of the films that they did beforehand and what they did with it, to me, I thought this was relatively funny. It had some offhand random humor in it. I mean, there, and it was different. It had a harsher tone to an STD, but they came off on it comically, and I thought it was one of the better films of last year. And one of the things that I can say with this is I had a friend's wife go through a battered relationship, and I brought this film over, and she was laughing her ass off through it. So that to me was a plus to be able to cheer someone up with a totally nasty film. And the way I put it is, in order to, get yourself out of the dumps, you need to watch a really fucked up film. So I put this on, and she was still laughing when I left. So, but,
I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Never underestimate horror.
No, definitely not. So, ultimately, did you enjoy this film?
I had at first thought I wasn't going to enjoy it. I will admit, there was a part of it because I had just eaten lunch and you didn't warn me to not. And the way my job works is I usually have to go in and see people throughout the day as they walk in. Therefore, I'm sitting there with a lot of downtime in between. Sometimes a lot, sometimes very little. But the problem was, until I downloaded the film, I had to start at the beginning. So I watched the first 15 minutes 5 times. But once I got past that initial part that made me quite a bit queasy, I actually did start to really get into the film, started to enjoy the film as the effects, and I love practical effects in a film. I feel like practical effects they're an art that doesn't need to be lost. I actually have a lot more respect for a good film that has excellent practical effects. There's just something really cool about that hands-on approach.
Kick her in the vag.
Well, I mean, then they had the scene where they have the talking vagina, where it's where it where it talks to him. That was that actually did have me crack up. Fully. And that was I think it was the first time I fully cracked up in the film.
Okay.
Because I considered it a relatively serious horror film with some absurdist elements to it, and it did
have a serious tone to it. I agree. It had that slasher tone to it. That they were trying to do something serious, but again, you had the comical dialogue. You had the way that you had to kill them. You had to hit them in their privates. It was just kind of, slapstick kind of humor, somewhat more towards the middle and towards the end. And of course, I felt like they were trying to cram in the cannibalism.
Yeah, I felt like that, though. I am glad that they did. At first, I thought when they did some foreshadowing, I thought to myself, this is just a little Easter egg. But then I realized that it was indeed real foreshadowing, so I forgave it for that. At the end, I mean, I did find it also fun when they were talking about no in the other brain. But it's. I thought that I was a little bit. I was kind of a little bit disappointed at the end. It left you open for a sequel, but not as a sequel quite like House Shark did.
I hear you, and I would be interested to seeing where this would go sequel wise if it did. And this is, believe it or not, from what I understand, this is actually a popular film among some of the cult goers. When I spoke to Wayne Johnson, he said that it was actually making them money. So that is that's a good thing for them. So, but in anything, ladies and gentlemen, on Inside Movies Galore, we actually did a 3-hour, or in fact, an over 3-hour interview with the actor Wayne Johnson. And it wasn't just about his performance in Night of Something Strange. He was actually in quite a few films over the years. So it was about his entire career. So if you get a chance, go back on our channel and find that Wayne W. Johnson interview and listen to it. It's not, I mean, yeah, okay, it's 3 hours. Okay, you're not going to be able to sit through all of it, but at least hear him out. It was definitely interesting to listen to. He's got a very good speaking voice, and we were able to talk about quite a few films that he was in. He was also in Tales of Dracula, which was a film that you can buy off of oldies.com, which was a black and white version of a Dracula tale. So, that one they left open for a sequel. In fact, that one still is in the wings, from what I understand. It's not funded, but I know it's still being talked about getting done. So, but back to you, Septum. What did you have anything else to say?
I think that's pretty much been said. I mean, I pointed out the vending machine connection in the previous.
Now explain the vending machine concept, according to you.
Well, I mean, they both had that same connection, that concept where, this number of people are killed by vending machines. There was always that run-in. And House Shark, it's like, I think, I would say more people are killed by vending machines than house sharks, right? I don't know how many people are killed by vending machines. And I remember watching the other one and saying, well, he's doing that same vending machine line right there in this movie. But he doesn't reference house sharks. I guess that would be a little bit absurd for that movie.
Well, I watched Night of Something Strange before I saw House Shark. So seeing House Shark first and seeing Night of Something Strange after might be a different viewpoint. Knowing that you saw it before you saw this. Did House Shark steal the thunder that Night of Something Strange might have had if you'd have viewed it first?
My expectations were in a different direction than they would have been if I'd watched them in a different order. I would have been expecting something more serious from House Shark, which or an attempt at something more serious from House Shark. But I don't know how that would be possible. Really, it's House Shark. But with this one, I wasn't quite sure what to expect because I was more on the, okay, is this going to be more comedic like this other movie? And then I was, so it kind of caught me off guard when I realized how serious the tone was.
Okay.
Initially, I mean that first couple of minutes, that was definitely not comedic, and it definitely set the tone.
Very real. I mean, shit like that could have happened in reality. You know, that was a rape scene that you were seeing. Those first 15 minutes. You know. And then he goes home and rapes his wife, so it was more like a double rape scene there. So there are definitely some serious tones there.
Yeah, I mean there is another film, and I'm trying to think of what it was. I did a review for it, and I don't do a lot of videos about films that that are not on physical release, but I did that as a favor to their channel.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of the name of it because it really was an excellent film when it comes to the beginning, because it's amazing how much the scene sets the tone.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying when I say that.
Yeah.
A Whisper in the Dark was the name of the film.
Oh, yeah, that's a black and white film, isn't it?
I can't remember whether it was or not.
Or was it Whisper in the Darkness?
It's A Whisper in the Dark. And
Okay.
it had a sequel. It was by Moonlight something.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that one.
And
okay.
It was a very well done film, but that opening 10 minutes of the film, it set the whole tone for it. It had me sitting on the edge of my seat, wanting to watch the rest of the film. And
it's like the first beginning parts of Saving Ryan's Privates. No, Saving Private Ryan. You get the gore, you know, that happened. That was so, from what I understand, reality, and that hooks you in, you know, that type of beginning. You know, not that I'm trying to bring a war movie into this, but it was one of those films that reminds me of a very good beginning. You know what I'm saying? So, anything else to add?
Well, that's all I have to add on the film. It was a good film. I'm glad to have watched it. Oh, just as an aside, as a plug to the filmmakers, I had visited. I did go ahead and visit the Facebook page while we were talking about this, and looked at the shop. Unfortunately, the Blu-ray is totally sold out, but they do have a good deal on the DVD. So I've got one of those coming to me, and they have a really funny-looking retro style video game T-shirt that they still have in stock, which is kind of cool. They have it set up like an old 8-bit Nintendo game, and it's a really neat shop. Definitely check that out for them.
Definitely. So, in any case, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed our little discussion on Night of Something Strange. I mean, I'm going to say this film hasn't been accepted by everyone. I mean, there's a guy that I know who's been doing radio business forever, and he tried to like it, but he's seen so much, you know, slapstick comedy. It didn't just, you know, it didn't fly by him. It didn't, you know, he didn't laugh about it. In fact, he thought the humor was actually more, you know, outlandish, and it was more insulting. You know, which. Hearing someone say that about it when I thought it was humorous, you know, to an extent, it was a different perspective, and so bear in mind, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. but you got to be able to enjoy the ride. Once again, you got to be able to sit back and enjoy it for what it is. So,
my co-host Kotobuki Jake could not watch this film. I guarantee you, he could not watch this film. He has this issue with gore in films, and this would just no, he'd be like.
Well, that's better than that you and I are actually doing some of these reviews, because I have actually gotten into some of the extreme gore that is out there, and it's not that I entirely enjoy it, but for some reason I just can't stop myself from viewing some of it, just because I'm human, and I guess I want to see how bad some of it can go. How morally depressing can a film get? In any case,
yeah.
Like and subscribe our pages. I'm definitely going to. Some of these are going to be up on Septum Sims page, so definitely check them out. This will not be the end of our film discussions together. I'm sure we're going to have another nasty film to review between each other, so that we can grow our page. And I think between him and I, we can come up with some very good films to talk about, especially when they are still very well in the indie eye right now. So definitely check the film out, see it for yourself, and then comment on our page when you've seen it yourself, or if you've seen it yourself, so that we know whether it's was a great film to you, or whether it was just the absolutely most horrid thing you ever saw.
Don't forget to watch tonight's discussion on The Beast.
Definitely. And after this, once Septum Sim gets off, I'm gonna have a couple more reviews on some versions of Les Miserables up here for your viewage. So definitely check those out. I just before these two reviews that we did, I did a review on made-for-TV film from 1978, which involved Anthony Perkins and in the role of Javert. So definitely check that out. That was definitely an interesting role, seeing him in a serious role.
It's been a pleasure being on with you.
Definitely, man. And this won't be the end of these film discussions by a long shot, I don't think. So, in any case, enjoy your time before you get subjected to the beast. And we will. I'll see you in a couple of hours.
Definitely.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, check us out, man.